Assalamu alaikum students. So our today's topic is law of sines and law of cosines application. We are going to do law of sine and cosine for any triangle. We are going to figure it out how to start with, which law to start with and what to look for. We are going to use law of sines when we are given two angles and one side. In such a way, two angles and the opposite side is given, or two angles and the inclusive side is given, or two sides and one angle is given. Two sides and one opposite angle, not the inclusive angle. If you have AAS, ASA, or SSA given information, then we are going to use law of sines. When are we going to use law of cosines? Use law of cosine when two sides and one angle in such a way that we have SAS, two sides and the inclusive angle. If you have two sides and the opposite, we use law of sine. If you have two sides and the inclusive angle, we use law of cosine first. Or if we are given three sides, we use law of cosine. But keeping in mind, find the largest angle first. First, the angle first. How would you know which angle is the largest? The angle opposite to the longest side will be the largest angle. Otherwise, if you start from the smaller angle or the middle angle, you'll get the wrong answer. So it's better to find the largest angle first. Okay, so let's begin. There are some examples. Example number 1. Here I can see I know two sides and the inclusive angle. So when I know two sides and the inclusive angle, I'm going to use law of cosines. And what law of cosine says? The angle which we know, the side opposite to that comes outside. So the angle which we know, side opposite to this. Use the law of cosine and law of sine to solve each triangle. For instance, if we have to find this side and this angle, how are we going to do? First, we are going to do two sides and the inclusive angle. We are going to find this side using SAS. So I'm going to do x squared equals 7 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 7 times 10 cos of 132 degrees. Plug it into your calculators. I get x squared equals 149 minus 100. Sorry, 49 plus 100 is 149 minus 140 cos of 132. I subtract 149 on I plug everything into the calculator, and what I get is x equals to 15.6 after taking the square root. So if x is 15.6, once I know this, the next step, what am I going to do is to find this angle y. Now to find this angle y, now I know that this is 15.6. Now to get this angle, I can use my sine law, because I know this angle, I know this opposite side, I know this side, and I know this angle. I told you, if you're looking for an angle, we have in sine law, keep angles on top. If you're looking for sides, in sine law, keep sides on top. Because you have to find this, I'm going to use sine of 132 over 15.6 is equal to sine of y over 10. Now here, you can use cos law also. You can, for cos law, we have to find this angle. We know the opposite side. You can use cos law also. But it's easier to use sine law because it's a ratio. Now I get what? I get I do this in my calculator, and what I do is I multiply both sides by 10 so that I can get rid of this. Plug this into your calculator and multiply both sides by 10. I get sine y equals 4764 for sine y, 0.4764. Now I take inverse, sine inverse, I get y equals sine inverse of 0.4764. What do I get here is y equals 28.5 degrees. So EF is 15.6. Angle E is 28.5 degrees. Angle G. Once we know these two angles, I can find the third angle. I add and subtract from 180 to get this 19.5 degrees. Okay, now example number 2. We have to find LM. LM is this side, so this side I have to find. MN, which is this side, and angle N, which is this. Okay, now what I know here is two angles and the opposite side, right? I know the third angle would be 30 degrees because I can subtract from 180 and I can find that. So here I know all three angles and I know one side. For sine law, we can use only if we have two angles and the opposite sides. So we know these two angles and the opposite sides, and we know these two angles and the opposite sides. So let's figure, what are we going to look for? I know either we can find this side first or you can find this side first using the sine law. So let's begin with this. Let's find this, then we'll find that. I know angle N is 30 degrees. Okay, so to find this in sine law, we have to find sides, so I'm going to keep sides on top in sine law. Okay, so x over the opposite angle is sine of 21, and 5 over sine of 129. Okay, I'm going to do x over sine of 21, the opposite angle, equals to 5 over sine of 129. To find x, I'm going to multiply both sides by sine 21. I get x equals 5 times sine 21 degrees over sine of 129 degrees. I plug it all into my calculator and I get x equals to 2.3. What I did here is, to get rid of this, I multiplied both sides by sine 21. Okay, so x is 2.3, which is this one. Once I get this, this is 2.3. Now I know I can use again sine law. Okay, I can use sine law to find this side. What I can do is, I know this angle. To find side, I'm gonna put y on top, y over sine of 30 degrees. Now always use whatever is given most of the times. Don't use what you find out, because if this is wrong, the other measurements will be wrong. If it's available to use the other option, please do that. So I'm going to do this one. No, this one, sorry. This ratio which is already given to me. 5 over sine of 129. The same I'm going to do here. Multiply both sides by sine of 30. I get 5 sine of 30 over sine of 129 degrees. I multiplied sine 30 here, it gets cancelled. I multiplied sine 30 here, I get this. Y equals 3.2. Okay, let's do another example. The same case. What we have to find out, xy, which is this, I have to find out angle W, which is this, and angle X, which is this. Okay, once we know this, we can find that angle. Okay, so what I know is two sides and the opposite angle. Two sides and the opposite angle. Two side and the opposite angle, I'm going to use sine law. So when this is given, I know this ratio and I know this ratio. So let's find out this angle first, and then, because I can't find this side, let's find this angle, not that angle, because I don't know this ratio, this side, so I can't find this angle. So let's name this as y. Okay, so I'm gonna have it as, I'm gonna look for this first. So because two sides in the opposite angle, I have a ratio of sine of, I have to find an angle, so I'm gonna keep angles on top. So I'm gonna do sine of y over 17 is equal to sine of 98 over 28. Plug it everything in your calculator, and I get sine of y equals, multiply both sides by 17. I get 17 times sine of 98 over 28. I get sine of y equals 0.6012. Take sine inverse, I get y equals 37 degrees. So this is 37 degrees, which is angle X, right? Once I know this angle, I can find my third angle, which is 45. Add and subtract from 180. And once I know this angle, now I can use sine law. It's always easier to use sine law because it's easier, because it's just a ratio of side and angles opposite to it. So to find this, I'm gonna use this angle. I have to find the side. I'm gonna keep my sides on top. X over sine of 45 equals to 28 over sine of 98 degrees. Once I get this, I multiply both sides by sine of 45. I get x equals 28 times sine of 45 degrees over sine of 98 degrees. X equals to 20. This is x, which is 20. Okay. Let's do one more example where we know all the sides. In this case, example number 3, when I know all the sides, I told you we have to use cosine law, and please look for the largest angle first when we know all the sides. So the largest angle would be this angle. Let's find out this angle first. Angle. No. This is the largest angle. So let's find out this angle first. Name this as x. To find that angle, I'm going to use this angle cosine law. This angle goes inside, so opposite comes outside. 29 squared equals to 14 squared plus 24 squared minus 2 times 14 times 24 times cos of, you can write cos of b also if you want to keep it as b, cos of b. So add them, subtract them, and then divide by this number. So it is 841 equals to 772 minus 672 cos of b. I squared them and I added them. I got this 2 times 14 times 24. I got 672 cos of b. I subtract 772 from 841. I get 69 equals negative 672 cos of b. I divide by negative 672. I get both sides. I get negative 0.1027 equals cos of x, cos of b, take the inverse, I get cos inverse of negative 0.1029 equals to b, which is 95.9. So this is angle B is 95.9. Once I get 95.9, now I can use sine law. Because I have this angle in this side, I can use this side and this to find this angle. Okay, so I'm gonna, because I have to find an angle, I can use either this angle first or that angle first. Okay, if I want to find this angle first, I'm gonna use 24. Okay, so I'm gonna do, because I have to find angles, I'm gonna keep angles on top. Sine of 95.9 over 29 equals sine of 24 over, sine of C over 24. Find that, and then you can find the third angle. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you understand the concept.